Hello, welcome to Podium for day 4 of the European Athletics Championships, our last of the podlets from the comfort of our own homes for myself, Rich, and Sikhalo from Activate the Burners. Tom Bosworth tried to race home from Birmingham. He's been there today, but he hasn't quite made it. I think he's had a bit of a nightmare train-wise. And if he is home right now, he hasn't seen anything that's actually happened tonight, I don't think. So probably not that useful. We're doing something a bit different tonight, Sikhalo. We haven't quite finished the night session. We've watched nearly everything so far, but we decided to come on air just before the women's 200 meters gets underway, which is a risky maneuver. But we thought we'd try to find a different way of talking about Amy Hunt against Dina Asher-Smith.
Yeah, I think different, but I think if there's a race that we will or we should watch live, it will definitely be this one. We've got 3 Brits going into the finals. I think there's been talk about a potential 1, 2, 3. You never know what could happen. I'm just looking at my screen right now. This is the race to watch live, and I think that narrative around Amy and Dina, it's almost like, is this the race that is going to maybe settle the score? If Amy wins, is she the new sprint sensation and the star of British female sprinting? But then if Dina wins, is she just confirming, like, I've always been here, I still am here, and I'm going nowhere? So yeah, pretty exciting. Have you got any predictions for the podium?
Yeah, put me on the spot. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Dina's got Amy's number in terms of the head-to-head all time, but Amy has got the better record this season. And I think, as we said on Monday night, was it Monday? Feels like a long time ago.
I think it was Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday? It was Monday, wasn't it? Monday night that Amy Hunt won?
Oh, yeah, yes. Monday, yeah. My God.
We're all in this situation, Sikhalo. Like, we're all
I lose track of the actual day. No, it's day 4. It is day 4.
Which, that's why I should be talking in day numbers rather than actual days of the week.
It was day one that Amy won.
And at that point, we're talking about Amy Hunt's curve and how it's just been so good, and it's just almost been like completely perfect, that you kind of... I was going into this race and I'm kind of expecting that Amy Hunt continues that journey on, but the problem for Amy Hunt, not the problem for Dina Asher-Smith, is just that I just think she's such a warrior. She's a real warrior, as in, like, she fights and she will not give this up easily. And Dina is also not at an age where you can try and retire her. She's still she's still pretty young for a sprinter. She's still got lots left in her, right?
We've just seen Mark English, who's 32, 33, take a gold medal, and we'll go into that soon. But I think, that just goes to show that regardless of the age, you can still show up and you can still be amongst the medals and be on the top of the podium. I think what's really interesting about this race is it's Adeleke in lane 6, and she had a really good semi. And then you've got Amy, and then you've got Dina, all 3 of them running against each other. I think Dina will be pretty happy with a lane draw. She runs less of a bend and goes straight onto the straight. But
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've put ourselves in this difficult situation where everyone that's listening to this or watching this has already seen the race. So we're absolutely setting ourselves up for a proper fail here.
But I think it's good. And imagine if someone sneaks a medal. Imagine if someone that we're not talking about right now, we're so fixated on Dina, we're so fixated on Amy, and someone could just sneak a medal.
Yeah. So let's see what's coming up in this episode. We've got the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase, talk about the men's 800 meters, as Sikhalo was talking about, the conclusion of Decathlon, which you just sort of felt for Leo Neugebauer, but still managed to get over the line somehow. The men's discus, the women's pole vault, women's triple jump. It really has ramped up today. And that's before we even get to the controversy, if you want to call it that, or the talking point of the women's 800 meters semi-finals earlier on. So that's all coming up today, because we've got a big race coming up in the 800 meters tomorrow night. And as I'm watching Sikhalo just like be glued to the screen, I'm trying to use all of my broadcasting experience just to try and fill while we watch Amy Hunt and Dina Asher-Smith go head to head. And it will be Amy Hunt who gets the gold medal.
Ooh.
And she has doubled up 22.19. It's Amy Hunt's gold and Rashida Adeleke that gets a silver medal. Silver for Adeleke, and Asher-Smith gets the bronze. New national record as well for Adeleke. 22.19 European lead for Amy Hunt. That is incredible, right?
I mean, going into that, if you had to put a top three on the podium, I think it would have been that top three. And I mean, amongst them, it's like a tenth of a second. A tenth of a second separates the whole podium. I mean, yeah, we could go straight into it. Hunt European lead, Adeleke national record after what she's been through. I did Dina on the podium. She might have mixed feelings about that. I think maybe that's the one where she would have thought, okay, I can definitely get a gold, but still on the podium, still proving that she is one of the top sprinters in Europe. Oh my word.
So Success Edouard ended up coming in 6th. Just to sort of wrap up the results. So Hunt's 22.19 new European lead, Rashida Adeleke, who had to drop down, remember, from the 400 meters because she wasn't quite ready for that, getting a silver medal, 22.28 new national record, and Dina Asher-Smith 22.29. Watching the shots of her right now, maybe putting on a little bit of a brave face, maybe, Dina. I mean, this is going to be quite hard for her, isn't it? Because I think there's is it now a point where you talk about, is this a changing of the guard? Because of that curve we talk about with Amy Hunt, because of the time she's putting in, and you have to say now, because of the results, the head-to-head. Actually, watching this back again, it's a tremendous finish from Adeleke to beat Dina. It looks like it's pretty much neck and neck for Hunt and Dina, isn't it? For about 20 meters to go. Then Hunt pulls away from Dina, and Dina maybe just ties up a little bit. Adeleke's finish is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think on the topic of changing the guard, I think for me, the change of the guard, it doesn't happen immediately. It happens over the space of a couple of years. And I think if we just look at the past 12 months as a whole, including today, like I think Amy has probably been slightly further, but I think we can't forget that Dina had a really good indoor season. It just didn't necessarily translate to outdoors. I mean, but what's ridiculous is Amy, she made a sign. She was like 2 out of 4. Could we see Amy go for a quadruple gold? I don't think I've ever seen any athlete win 4 gold medals. And this is just relays now. And if you look at our teams, we've got one of the strongest women's teams, and definitely one of the strongest mixed relay teams. And yeah, is it a changing of the guard? I personally wouldn't say so.
Potentially, but not maybe too soon to go.
I think if we're looking at who our leading female sprinter is in the UK, I think you have to say it's Amy Hunt. Can I say that Amy Hunt is beyond Dina Asher-Smith? No, because like Dina's still getting to the podium. She's still getting to the finals. Like Amy Hunt hasn't eclipsed and like completely gone past Dina Asher-Smith. But yeah, we're seeing Amy take the charge and being, I would say, probably our leading sprint superstar at the moment. But
yeah,
you never know, things can change. And I think if that continues over the next, I'd say 12 to 18 months as we go look towards LA, then yeah, definitely. There will be a change of the guard, but
got to go one more year, I guess, haven't you? Because you go back to Tokyo as well. You can say a year from Tokyo, from that silver medal. And then to here, who had the European lead before Amy Hunt?
Yeah, I think.
Can you tell me guess who had the European lead before Amy Hunt?
It was Dina.
It was Dina. Yeah,
it was Dina.
She's taken about a tenth off of it, I think, almost.
Yeah, but I think one thing you've also got to look at, and I think it's not been said a lot, is Amy has been with her coach Marco for a very long time now, and in the past 2 years, Dina has had a very, I just kind of guess turbulent experience in terms of like coaching and training setups. And
Well, it didn't go
it
right next last year, didn't, to the point that actually she had to pull out of it before a major championship, which would show that things were not. When you do that so close to, I mean, it was British champs, wasn't it, when it all came out that she'd had to change her setup, and that is, what was it like? That's like a month
it was a
and a
month
bit before
and
Tokyo. I mean,
she
that
still
has to be quite bad, doesn't it? Or not bad, but like not right to make that dramatic a change before a major championship. So
well,
yeah, you're right.
I think it's the experience. Dina knows herself well, and she still
Mm.
managed to get to the 100-meter final and the 200-meter final despite not being in a coaching setup at all. But, you know, it takes time to adapt. And we saw it working at the start. If we look at indoors, that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about, change of the guard. When you look at indoors, Dina was ahead of Amy. Dina was the British champion. Dina finished ahead of her in the finals. But yeah, outdoors, it hasn't translated well. So I think when you look at the season as a whole, I know we probably put more weight on the outdoor season than we do the indoor season. But I think we can be really quick in just like dismissing someone as soon as like they're not on the top. And Dina's still competing there. I mean, I've got a lot of bias. I'm a big Dina fan as well. So, but yeah, she's still on the podium. Bronze medal. I think, you know, it didn't click for her in the 100. She still showed that she's a great 200-meter runner. But I think it's also worth speaking about Rashida Adeleke, because I know we touched on her briefly after the semis. And I think to just watch her go and get that silver just will do so much for her. So much for her. And when she was talking with the Irish broadcasters after her semi, she just said that, you know, she's not putting pressure on herself. She's just like running within herself. And you could just see that in that final there. I'm very happy for her. And, you know, maybe that's the start of her doing more twos. Who knows?
It'd be nice. It'd be good to see, wouldn't it? Because you can clearly mix it. Okay, so Amy's going to go. She said already she wants to go get the 4 gold medals. Okay, let's get to the men's 800 meters. Real shame. I mean, devastating. Really, you get this breaking news minutes before that Max Burgin won't run. He's looked good in the 2 rounds before. To the point that you sort of get sort of carried away with the potential of what could happen, because you know it's devastating, because you know how massive a talent he is, and you know the suffering that he's been through previously, that he cannot shake these injuries, and he is one of the best in the world, but he could be right at the top, and you know the potential he has, and that is why it's sort of, I mean, God knows how he feels. We're talking as British athletics fans, you know, just really, devastated for him, as I say. The win goes to Mark English, which is an extremely popular win. We talked about this in our preview podcast as well. He was always going to be a popular win. Great support.
And he made it look smooth.
Oh,
and he
so
made
easy.
it look so easy. I said yesterday how, you know, he's gone through the rounds and made it look smooth and there's no worry about him. He just made the finals look so easy. And the way he was running in that last 100 meters, it was almost Femke Bol-esque in the sense that he didn't look like he was tying up. It was just like, okay, now it's time to go and just get my gold. I think that is, if there was a book written on how to navigate an 800-meter championships, you'd base it off what Mark English just done in all 3 rounds. Amazing. And I think there's a stat on him being, is this the first?
Well, we think, so it's the first men's Irish European athletics gold. And he's gone close before. He's got 2 bronze medals. The first one back 12 years ago, 2014. So it just shows his longevity. You know, he's the master at this now. And we've seen it in the Diamond Leagues this year. He can, like, actually, what we've seen before is that he can just finish very strongly. So you can sort of look, you almost feel like you've discounted him from a race, and then suddenly he's come back through and he's got the win or a second place or a top 3. I think, but the way he could actually, this is a different race, because also you've got to think about the fact that the athletes that are in this race had to probably know what their race tactics would have been based on what Max Burgin would have done, because we know Max Burgin now these days races one way, and and it's from the front. So you've got to know how to respond to what Max is going to do, but actually, like really short notice. And I guess the only person who might have had an inkling, maybe Ben Pattison, but also they would have all been warming up, so they may have seen the issue. You've got to suddenly start to rethink your game plan. But someone like Mark English doesn't have to do that because he's got so much experience to draw on that he can just sort of, it's like
It's like muscle
NFL
memory.
playbook. Well, it's like a playbook, isn't it? Like just skip to page 4. This is what we've got in here. It's all we know it off by heart. Don't worry about it.
He's got about 300 pages in his tactics book. I think though, I do think, in as much as, yes, you may base your tactic off one athlete is likely to do, I do think at this level you plan for a variety of different scenarios. It's not just, all right, we know Max is gonna go out really fast, let's plan for this. I think they also think, okay, what if it's really slow? What if Max doesn't go out really fast, which actually he hasn't done through the championship. So I think most athletes will actually plan a variety of different scenarios, and it's more of a case of being able to make those scenario changes very quickly whilst you're racing. And I think someone like Mark, like we've said, it's almost muscle memory. It's like he doesn't need to think about who's gone out. He can just make that change and make that tactic shift very quickly, whereas others, you can almost see when they're racing, sometimes they might go and then stop and then go and so yeah, I think most athletes probably prepared for a different scenario. I do feel for Max so much. He said in his VT though that he is injury prone, and I don't know, part of it makes me think hindsight's a beautiful thing, and it does make me think, was going to the Commonwealths a good idea? And there's athletes who did go to the Commonwealth Games who maybe didn't perform to their expectations, but there's athletes who didn't go to the Commonwealth Games who performed pretty well. So
you also wonder about the setup. He's got like a very conservative setup, hasn't he, where he likes to train, at home,
based in Leeds with his dad.
Yeah, exactly. And from a performance point of view, when he's fit and healthy, it works. But unfortunately, at the moment, season wide, it's something's not quite working, and you want him to figure it out, whatever that is. Obviously Marino Bludek finished second. I like it. I like watching him. He's like kind of he's a big personality. I like him more than
his reaction
indoors. He's a great 800 meter runner. Like I love watching him there, and he's got like the setup. He basically, I love the fact he made it all about Mark English as he crossed the line, which was great. And then Muratawi, who's not been at the races this year, getting the bronze medal, and he's one of the most exciting athletes to watch. So it's great to see him sort of making some sort of leap back to where we know that he can be. Ben Pattison was 6th in the end. He's talked about how disappointed he was. He was on our podcast earlier this year. I think it was February time. And he was very, very candid. And he was talking a lot about how he basically said, I switch off between 400 and 600 meters and I'm still trying to work it out. And he talked after the Commonwealth Games and said, I switched off between 400 and 600 meters and I know I do it. And I think maybe again here, it might have been the same situation. He just needs to try and push that little bit earlier, because you know how strong he can finish. You know how good he is or can be. And you do always feel like you're waiting for, I mean, we like, who are we, Sikhalo? We're like, trying to we watch a lot of this sport. We cover it for a living. But you do almost feel like he needs to go 20 seconds earlier than he's gone.
Well, I think,
and whatever it is, he's trying to work on that kind of tactical plan, but also his confidence within him that he can do it.
So I think with the race specifically, I think it was just like a hesitation, like at the 500 meter mark.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked like he wanted to make a move, but then he didn't, and then he went. And based off talking to athletes, and definitely not from experience, but those surges like that can just take so much out of you. If you're gonna make a move, you just got to go with it, and whatever happens, happens. And I think with Ben, and he's sort of openly said it, it's I think he's been doing a lot more just like mental work, like with a psychologist, just to get him to one believed that like he should be amongst those medals, and I think it's interesting watching watching his journey, because when he got that Commonwealth medal, when he got that Worlds medal, it was almost like there was no pressure or expectation on him. So
Mm.
it just allows you to fly. It's like, okay, if I get to a final, this is good enough. So let's just see what happens. Whereas I think now potentially the outside pressure is like, we probably expect a medal from Ben, who's way more experienced, who's gotten a medal before, he's been there before. We definitely think he can do it again. And I think that's, maybe it's more of a mental barrier which he needs to figure out and get over, especially when it comes to championships, because I think he's had like some good Diamond League races before, but I think within the championships and just learning how to deal with that potential external pressure, but also learning how to maybe be a bit more decisive and just be like, right, if I'm going at 500, I'm going. And
Mm.
whatever happens, happens. I can at least say that I just made my move then, as compared to being like, oh, should I go? Should I not? Yeah, hopefully we see it. His confidence kind of grow and develop, and his tactical prowess just be a
I think
bit more.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is, well, like I was saying, like he knows what he has to do. So that's a positive, isn't it, as well? Because he like
Oh
there's a
yeah.
missing piece, and he knows what
Mm.
that missing piece is. So you know exactly what needs to be worked on. In the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase, just on the limit of, I think it's the
Oh,
fifth hottest day in UK history
yeah,
today.
ridiculous.
So not ideal situation, but a real shame for Elise Storner, who came into this as the European lead. The first 1K was pretty quick.
It was three
Hannah
flat.
I think Hannah had tipped Gesa Krause back after starting a family over the last few years. Obviously, she's been dabbling with a little bit of experimentation as well, race
Yeah.
wise. She ran a marathon the back end of last year, and she just kicked for home and was way out in front. But there was drama in that last water jump, obviously, where
Oh,
Leah Mayer, who'd led the entire race, just looked like her legs just gave up, didn't it, on that
yeah.
final water jump, and she just sort of dropped. I mean, it was quite dramatic, wasn't it? And I thought there was a bit of a chance actually before that for Elise Storner. When I started thinking, I was thinking she's waiting for a chance. And at Commonwealth Games, the final 4 laps was just phenomenal. Watching her get that
Mm.
silver medal, the way she chased down the front two. And again, this might come back to your point, Sikhalo, about is doing the double that close a good idea. But with 400 meters to go, I was worried that Thorner wasn't going to do it, because there was a point where she was on the rail, she was stuck there, but Fino gave her a massive gap to get out of it and to launch an attack
And you would
with
have
1 lap
thought
to go.
I
She
think
didn't take it,
the
and it was a big
Elise,
opportunity.
yeah, the Elise we're used to seeing is, or the Elise we actually see 99% of the time is someone who would have taken that gap and moved out. And I think actually I really enjoyed her interview after, and just saying actually I was pretty spent. Like that's the kind of move that I probably would have made, and it's almost like she knew that that's the move she wanted to make. But so mentally, like she was there. It's almost like a bit of a flip to Ben Pattison. Like mentally, she wanted to make that move, but physically, she just didn't have the
Yeah.
legs to. And I do think though, like a lot is said when it comes to season's best and personal best and the build up to championships. But I do think there is part of it which is just recovery between rounds. And she performed really well at the Commonwealths, but it was a straight final in the steeplechase. This
Mm.
was a day one, was the steeplechase heats. And yeah, I think there was a reasonable amount of, like, she had 2 full days in between to recover. But also it is just learning how to like recover properly from those rounds, and also learning how to maybe navigate the rounds in a way which doesn't leave you as fatigued. And I think the Elise that we saw in the Commonwealths, if that Elise was racing in that final, I think she would have won. I think she would have won
Yeah.
easily. But I think it's more, I know she'll be disappointed that she's out of the medals, but I think there's definitely a lot learned from just managing rounds and just back-to-back championships.
Mhm. and I think it's also, you've got to also take your hat off to the experience at the front of here. Gets across that she's a bit of a legend. 10 years on after her first European title, she gets another, having come back as well as a mum. So Fino got silver, Olivia Goeth got third. Another German gold in the decathlon there. We mentioned at the start of this show, Leo Neugebauer, just about. I mean, there was a chance that Nicholas Kohl could get the silver, to get the bronze, to get the gold, and upgrade from the silver. He had to get a massive gap. And at one point you thought, I don't even know if Neugebauer can get to the line here, actually. And he literally, if that was a mile race instead of a 1500 meters, I mean, he gave that. I mean, he was almost going backwards. It really was painful to watch, wasn't it? Watching him, because but all those other disciplines, not so much the 800 and the 1500 meters, Neugebauer would say straight away, that's not my strength. It's not my bag.
No.
But Nicholas Kohl, who's always in the mix, his javelin is so strong that he gave himself a possibility to get the gold medal instead. But Neugebauer, watching it, what did you think when you were watching him just collapse over the line? You do start worrying, don't you?
You know what? I honestly, I do really feel sorry for him, because the schedule of the decathlon has the 1500 meters last, and that is probably, I think most of them would say that's just not their favorite event. And it reminds me of I had so many flashbacks.
Still pretty
to
fast
Tokyo.
though, isn't it, Sikhalo, if we both to try and do it?
You know what? I do I'm about to go and criticize them, but they ran about 4:30, which is a really good time for those kind of athletes. But it's just so sad that he's not able to celebrate when he crosses the line. Every time he crosses the line and he wins a decathlon, he's just exhausted. I think in Tokyo they had to get a wheelchair for him, and you watch so many other athletes, they win and they do a lap of honor. He literally was lying down on the floor, and yeah, I think the decathlon is just the 1500 in decathlon is one of my favorite events, because it almost kind of brings these amazing athletes down to earth and makes you look and be like, okay, they are humans too. They're great athletes, but he just looks like I don't know, a fraction of the athlete he is, just lobbing himself across the line.
It's such a brutal event though, isn't it? It's just, I mean, it really is just those 10 events. And also, I mean, we also need to touch on the fact that earlier on he basically has to do part of it twice, because when no one was watching in the pole vault, Neugebauer thought he cleared 4.80 meters. It turned out that they hadn't actually increased the height of the bar from 4.70 meters, so he had to go again. And I don't think it was just him; it was one of the French athletes as well.
Yeah.
Trying to remember who it was, but it wasn't just him. But that was I mean, officials have had a busy day. They probably didn't want that late into what technically was the morning session, but I think didn't finish till 3 or 4 o'clock actually.
Yeah, it's
late finish. For decathletes who have to come back, it hasn't been great in terms of schedule.
Yeah, it's not good. And I think yesterday we were talking about Leo and how he needs to take his recovery really seriously going into the next day. And you've recovered, you've started day 2, and
Johannes Ohm didn't even start today.
Yeah,
did he? I mean, the reigning champion couldn't even make it to day 2, so it just shows how brutal it is.
Yeah, it's brutal, and just things like that are officials can't be making those mistakes. And yeah, things like that they can throw athletes off a lot, because you're part of the decathlon is just being able to conserve energy for the next event. Yeah. And yeah, but fortunately he got his gold. I hope he's standing now.
Enjoying it. I'm sure he's enjoying it. Again, the German Steiner's out I hope somewhere in Birmingham. So just to wrap up some field finals, we haven't been watching it because the BBC have actually gone off air, but the women's pole vault has only just finished. It's just finished just after 20 past 10. Angelika Moser has won that in 4.80 meters ahead of Wilma Heltela. So Wilma Murto, she recently got married, which is great. She's been through some real issues off of the mat. Wilma Helteller. It's going to take a while to get used to that one, because it's not even double barreled, so we can't even remind ourselves of what it was before. So like a Brewer's Bowl, for example. And Marie-Julie Bonin got the bronze medal. In the women's triple jump, that was won by Daria Derkac of Italy, a European lead of 14 meters 60. That was ahead of Salia Gise of Belgium, and Bulgaria's Alexandra Necheva got the bronze. And in the men's discus, and I kind of wish we'd seen a little bit more of it, because I just think this is just one of the best events in men's field, especially the throws at the moment. We saw 2 championship records in just the first round. First, it was Mykolas Lekner, who's only just got back from pec surgery earlier this year. So the fact we've talked about it on the pod before, but the fact he's still even being able to throw like that is mad. But then Christian Che throws 70 meters 13 and then 72.51, and no one else went over 70 meters, I don't think.
No one.
No, so he retains his title. And it's just one of those events, isn't it, where it can just be fire. Like, you got the likes of, and they're great personalities. Christian Che, Elektra can be a bit subdued. Daniel Storr is just a legend. And the fact the way he dealt with all those Tokyo conditions there on the day, it was just absolutely mad. Everyone wants to get to the bar, and discus hasn't even started yet, and the whole rest of the session has. It's just this guy just sort of manages to make the most of the conditions. It's an exciting event at the moment, right? Discus.
Yeah, I think very excited. I think just going back to Lekner, how you even get yourself on a podium after surgery on, I'd say, probably one of the most important muscles.
It feels like it. I mean, we're not, on neither of us are discus throwers, but I imagine it is. Yeah, it feels like it should be.
It's just, it's just really, really, really impressive. Yeah, I think for me, I can't get over that. I think it's a shame that we didn't really see much of the discus.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Shout out to we're talking about like field those. I thought Molly Cordier was pretty decent on the BBC commentary, and punditry as well, from like the little we saw and heard of her. I thought that was pretty good. Have you heard her do that before? I think it's a pretty good debut.
No, I haven't, and it's really good. I think it's actually very nice sometimes to see. I think we saw it with Jazz Sawyers at the Olympics in 2024, where she was doing the field commentary, and I think sometimes it's not sure how the athletes feel about it, but I think it's nice that the athletes can still be at the championships in a capacity of some sort, and still maybe feel like they're contributing to what is going on, as compared to, I guess, what they probably would have done, just go as a fan and sit there. Whereas like now, you're getting in the comms box, you're seeing actually what goes on when you're out competing, and gives them a more all-round picture of like how the sport is actually ran. And I think also in terms of like perspectives, I think sometimes athletes have particular perspectives when it comes to commentary, to media, etc. And I think what's great, I think we see it with Jess when she's talking about the heptathlon, Greg when he's talking about the long jump and the triple jump, is they know exactly what, because they're just like technicians of the sport. They know exactly where athlete has faltered, where athlete has done really well. I think it's great to actually have their insights on that.
I agree. I mean, it's about getting inside their head, isn't it? I mean, we don't understand, so give us something that we don't understand and tell us. And I think that's always great. And I think that's why Hannah's so great in this podcast as well, if we're honest. Just quickly before we get to the final big talking point of the day, the BBC interview with Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Did you see it?
Love it.
I mean, this was so good. Oh my God. I missed this. I've missed this. The quote, I mean, the one to pick out is obviously we're waiting for the Josh Kerr shade, and him saying it's ruining the sport if he's not participating. I mean, yes, let's bring it on. I mean, they are basically the same person, the two of them, aren't they? Let's be honest. That's why it works so well.
I love it so much, and you really sometimes you got to give it to Gabby Logan, because she teed that one up so perfectly, and yeah, they just butt heads. And it's almost like part of me thinks like, after Jakob got that gold, he was like, I can talk I don't know if you're allowed to swear in this podcast, but I can talk
Do it. Go on.
I can talk my shit. Because he's like, I'm the European gold medalist. I've retained my title. I've been out injured. Like, look at me, I'm back. And like, it's almost like that gave him like just the leverage to be like, actually, I can say this because I put myself on a pedestal. Yes, Josh, you've ran a world record and you've gone to the Commonwealth Games. But yeah, I mean, I love the comments. I do think part of, because he
knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing. And I know he doesn't. Because I was thinking, I can understand why Josh didn't turn up at the Euros because the Commonwealth was much bigger from him. And I don't expect Jakob to understand the sort of patriotism behind Josh competing for Scotland and winning the Commonwealth Mile. But I think even if Jakob understood that, he still would have gone and said those comments. And I think he couldn't
wait. He couldn't wait to say when it was the first teed up question, wasn't it? Where Gabby says something about, would you do that? And he just goes, never. Never.
I think I love the way he answered it. And yeah, I don't know. Do you think there is validity to what he was saying?
I don't think he would have been that bullish if he didn't honestly think that when he comes up against Josh potentially in 4 weeks' time at the World Ultimates, which is surely the goal now,
the
in the 1500 meters.
Yeah.
That I don't know if he'd say it if he didn't think he genuinely could beat him. So that is massively something to look forward to, because I really feel like,
World Athletics are rubbing their hands right now.
Exactly.
They are just like, that. I think they're getting the graphics ready to just tee up this the rivalry. Forget about Cole Holker, forget about Jared Naguse. We're back. Kerr versus Ingebrigtsen.
100%. Right, the last thing to talk about is the women's 800 meters. We're going to go big into this tomorrow. And obviously, second semi-final was pretty serene, and that was Keely Hodgkinson and Femke Brodersbol basically side by side, cruising through in like 1:57, setting up the situation with the final where they knew they were going to go through. But what we didn't know at the time was whether Audrey Werro was going to be with them. So she tripped, obviously, with about just over 100 meters to go. She finished. She knew she had to do that to get the to sort of have an appeal. She finished clutching her chest as she came through, so there's a bit of hopefully that was just being winded. Short story, she is through. It's been judged that she caught the hand of Anaïs Bourgoin. It was confirmed about 45 minutes later that she would go through. So is Gabija Galbadite, the Lithuanian athlete, so they'll both be going through. We actually did hear from Audrey Werro, and because the BBC got her, I'm surprised she stopped in a way. They didn't actually ask her how she was, which I think is like from a bigger picture point of view as to what's going to happen tomorrow is now the question, isn't it? It's what happened with her in terms of her physicality, because we know that Keely Hodgkinson has struggled recently with a fall in training, and that's what set her back a little bit in recent competitions. We don't know how she is. What we do know is going to be the final that we all wanted. It is going to be Keely Hodgkinson against Audrey Werro against Femke Brodersbol. Before we get any further and talk about whether it should have happened or not, or what your views are, and we've had a long conversation off air, Sikhalo, and I have with plenty of others as well. Let's get Hannah's view. So this is someone that has run 800, 1500 meters before. This is what she thinks of that situation, and Werro being reinstated for a 10 athlete final on Friday night.
So I was really relieved to see Werro and Galbadite to get advanced through. I think it's totally the right decision, and my instincts are immediately as I watched it, you don't fall over for no reason. And I know it can look like that on the telly when it's not obvious and it's subtle. And I didn't know what had happened. I was just very confident that you don't fall over at that point in the race unless something's happened. She wasn't looking up at the screen, she wasn't turning around, she wasn't easing up over the line and getting that sort of thing wrong. So I was pretty confident that there has to have been contact for a leg to move that much and hit the back of your other leg. And going at that speed, when you consider the fact that you're airborne, you've not got contact with the ground, like a race walker, you'd be, no, I think it makes total sense that you fall flat on your face. And I think, for anyone that thinks it's soft, I'd argue, we've only got 800, 1500 and steeplechase here, where another athlete can affect your ability to advance to the next round. It doesn't happen when athletes are in their own lanes, or very rarely happens when they've got their own lane, or they're throwing an implement or doing a jump on their own. I don't think it's excessive to have these measures in place for the endurance races where the athletes are on top of each other. I wouldn't say you got to rerun a final if something like that happens, but I think when you have the option to advance athletes, again, particularly in an endurance race where there's still space for them all in the start line, it's a no-brainer for me to advance people. And again, for people that kind of think it's soft, like if she hadn't fallen over, you see people who get clipped and then kind of emotionally give up. And then think they should be advanced. I think that's different if you just lose momentum and you don't kind of get your head back in the game. But like Werro was flat out on the ground, totally winded. She couldn't get up for ages. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's soft at all.
Well, there we go. So the reason why she's talking about softs, because I'm going back and forth. She can see obviously everything that's coming in from the Instagram account, and I was talking to her about my opinions and also about the opinions that were coming into the Podium Instagram. So we put out a post just asking people for what they thought of the situation. That was both before we saw the replay of we can sort of see a little bit more clearly the Bourgoin hand, and also after it. And the opinions that were coming back weren't that sympathetic. Now, let me put my point ahead. First of all, just to counter Hannah, because I think you fall somewhere in the middle. For me, it's not about being sympathetic to the situation I am. I cover like a lot of sports, like for my job. So you look at how sports are officiated. I think the issue is that I've always had with athletics is how the rules are applied differently dependent on the round. So you get a second chance from what you might call a sporting incident in round one, a semi-final, but you wouldn't rerun the race if it was a final. As Hannah said, she wouldn't have rerun that race. Now, it's completely accidental. It's not Werro's fault. It's not Bourgoin's fault. Sometimes stuff just happens in sport, and that unfortunately is what happens. You just have to take your medicine and just say that's it. Now, that is completely different if it's foul play, it's recklessness from another athlete, and either deliberately, or not endangers another athlete. That's obvious. And I'm not saying that what's resulted in the end is the right or wrong decision. I think it actually, do you know what, is the right decision that Werro's gone through, and so has Gabadite. I have no idea what the situation is, but when there are two ways that a situation is dealt with depending on what the round, that's imperfect, isn't it? And because if it was a final, Werro would have to get up, do her interviews and say, it's really sad, but it's an accident. Sometimes that happens in sport. But if you've got a chance to have a second chance, you get it. I don't know, that is something that in sport, I don't think you see it in other sports. And I find that quite jarring. And I think when you've got a real campaign to try and get more people into this sport, because for me, it's the best sport in the world. And it's almost like the purest sport. It's just one person against each other, it's just... I think when I always apply this principle of, can you tell like a slightly elderly relative like why this is happening, and if I can't explain it properly without them going, well, yeah, that's just sport, and I can't really come back and say, well, the same views that Hannah said, and they still go, yeah, but that's just what happens in other sports, then I don't really know what else to say to them.
God, try explaining to your friends why there's a pacemaker in a race.
Gosh. Why does this matter, kind of thing? Yeah, I know that's the other question, isn't it? When in the one day meets, yeah.
So I think, well, to start with on Audrey's condition, because so she put out just a post on her Instagram stories, which just basically said, had a heavy fall and got my breath taken away for a while, but everything is fine. ? Grateful to be a part of the final tomorrow. Thank you for all your messages and see you soon. So I think we did see her sort of hold her chest after, and she looked pretty winded.
It's winded, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she looked just pretty winded. I think it was just like a bit winded and also a bit of a state of shock, because that's not how I think anyone imagined that round. But I think, she's got a very experienced medical team, psychology team around her. So she hopefully, and like she said, is fine going into the finals. I think on your argument, I lean more towards Hannah, because you cannot compare, and we spoke about this earlier, you cannot compare the rules that govern football and other sports to the rules that govern athletics, because athletics is a completely different sport, and it's just not that black and white. And I think in terms of your view on reruns and stuff, I don't think any race should be rerun unless the whole field is affected by something. Because I think the point, like, let's say if you do have a rerun, then that's gonna, let's say an athlete who finished first might end up finishing last, and I think that's unfair. I don't agree with reruns.
I agree, but I agree with that, by the way, just to say I don't think there should be a rerun, but I'm just saying if you apply that rule onto it, then you should say, well, you keep on doing endless reruns.
I don't agree with reruns, but I agree with an athlete being advanced if they've clearly been affected, like during a race.
If it's a complete accident, though, because that is definitely an accident, isn't it? That one. That is about as clear, that's about as obvious an accident as you can get.
Caused by another athlete. Like, let's say if we look at the steeplechase and that fall in the last lap, let's say it was 2 laps before, or actually, let's say if that fall was in the heats, I don't think you advance her, because it was just her own fault. It wasn't caused by any other athlete. Werro was hit, and I think Adam makes a very good point, is like when you see these slow-mos on TV and you watch the race on TV, it doesn't seem that fast, but I guess when you are traveling at that speed, which is light years from my imagination, because I don't think I could ever run that fast, but when you're traveling at that speed, the smallest of touches can make such a difference. I do think, though, sometimes I do think, and maybe this would be like a sort of compromise on your view, if you are to advance an athlete, then an athlete must be disqualified as a result. So if you're going to say this athlete, Werro, you're going through, someone has to be disqualified as a result, because someone has caused an incident on you. And
that's just not, that's difficult, isn't it? Because in this situation, that's not Paul Guan's fault. There are clear instances where someone has been a bit reckless, and that's not obvious disqualification.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. I just think I think it was the main point. This was actually the main point that I made, is the fact that it's about restoring opportunity. You can do that in the heats. You can restore the opportunity for athletes to run by progressing them to the semis. You can do that in the semis by progressing them to the finals. It wouldn't make sense in the finals, because that's the last race of the series. You cannot restore opportunity in a final. It's almost, I think it's accepted by the athletes, by the referees, by everyone. Whatever happens in the final happens. If that happened in the finals for Audrey, yes, devastating, awful, but that's your end result. If that happens in the heats or the semis and you can rectify it, then rectify it. And I don't think you can make the comparisons to football, because this is athletics. This is the best sport in the world.
That's not me trying to make it like just directly to football. Like, I think when we had a conversation off air, like that's just one example. I think it's just like I just find that a really imperfect solution, and it's not this. And I don't think it's also. I'm almost playing devil's advocate with the rule. Like, it's not like I don't think Werro should have not been advanced to the final. It's just like how are the rules are almost completely different in a final. And there's no solution to how you do that. I don't know how you do. I don't know, because then you're right. If you do in endless reruns, that's ridiculous. So but it's just kind of like, I don't know, like having this I don't know any other sport where you get that second chance because you can redo it again. Every other sport, it would be like, that's just sport,
No,
unfortunately.
I think an example which I've just thought
Especially
of
if it's like an accident, like a proper accident.
Well, let's look at this. Let's say Formula One. In F1, if contact is made and someone crashes out the race, they don't rerun it.
No, they're out. They don't get to do another. They don't get to do the race again. They do they either. So like that's the same thing. You can't go and put them in another car and get them back on the track again.
Well, that's the last race. Let's say if so that's your last race, the final GP. But in Formula One, you have the sprint races, which are the day before. Someone crashes them out. They still have the opportunity to go and race in the final race. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I do. Yeah, I mean,
so what would you have done if you were the track referee? You're overseeing this. What are you doing?
I'm putting them both through. This is my point. It's like I'm not saying it's because this is the thing. It doesn't have to be an argument about a lack of empathy, which I've seen, or a lack of understanding, or it's someone's fault. It doesn't have to be any of those things. It just has to be like, why is it completely governed in one way? If it's earlier in the rounds to the actual final where you have to shrug it off and just go, that just happened. That's just sport. If you can say that's just sport in the final, unfortunately, you might have to say in the semi-final that's just sport as well. And just because there's an opportunity to do something doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing, unless you can actually, prove that someone was at fault deliberately, because it isn't deliberate. There's no idea. It's just clips a hand that's just on a follow through. I think we can go around this in circles for like such a long time.
Yeah, I would love
and again, I'm not trying to say it's like completely. I am sympathetic to it.
He doesn't want them to advance.
Galvadite should go through. No, I do. Yeah. I do think they should go through. But I just think it's just an imperfect situation where you can have it. It is. I mean, you have to admit it is. But the way it's governed then is completely different. Round to round, they know between a final and the rounds before. It just is.
Yeah,
which I think is quite hard to understand for people who are trying to come into the sport. That's kind of my point.
I completely agree. I think it's weighed differently. I would love the listeners and viewers to comment on their thoughts on this, but I don't think that is actually difficult to understand. Like if I was next to my friend and they were like, okay, this person they fell because they got tripped up, so they're getting advanced. I'd like that's not really rocket science.
No, but if you do say that when you go to the final that they don't get a second chance, why not?
Because it's a final.
Well, who cares? I just think it's just like, I don't know. I just don't know. When you just get a second, you just go, just go through anyway because something happened. Anyway, look, I would sort of agree to disagree, but I sort of don't also disagree and don't really agree either. So kind of like somewhere in the middle.
Well, the 800 final is tomorrow, and actually the 800 media race is tomorrow. So we won't.
You're going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be there.
For the media race, 7:30.
Yeah. No, it's not at 7:30. No.
What time is it?
It's at like 2 p.m. It's in between sessions.
Okay, fine. Are you racing it?
Yeah, I've put my name down.
Have you? Are you going to trip? who are you going to trip over?
James Rhodes.
I hope he's listening.
James Rhodes, I'm coming.
He's quick. Yeah, he's quick. I hope. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Okay. Well, I'll see you there tomorrow. We're both going to be there tomorrow. We'll be doing a podcast on the ground. And be good to finally get there. Cool. All right. Well, get your sleep because you need to get there. Nice and early, I think, to make sure you get your drills in before you do that 800 meters.
Will do. I've just had a massage today, so I'll be in. I think I'm in like 4-minute shape.
Sharpen your spikes for James, we'll see. And cool. I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you for listening. And we'll be back for another busy day tomorrow.